or if they ever communicated with a real estate agent before sitting down with you, immediately you're separating yourself. What's going on, guys? This is Eric Braun, aka Not Your Average Lender, with another episode of Produce or Plateau. Today we're going over a very popular topic, and that is virtual buyer consultations. Now, the special guest that I have on today, him and his team have been implementing virtual buyer consultations before the coronavirus, before the outbreak, and they've been seeing a lot of success with it and insane results in their business. So without further ado, I give you Abel Curiel, the leader or one of the leaders of the top producing real estate team in Queens. Abel, thank you for coming on.
Hey, thanks for having me, man. It's a pleasure to be on.
Absolutely. So for the people who don't know who you are, just give us a quick background. How long have you been in the business? What exactly is your role? What do you do? What do you specialize in?
Yeah, so I've been in the business about 3 years. I met Juan, I would say about 6 months after I got into the business. And we just kind of we didn't bump heads necessarily, but we kind of combined ideas.
Right.
We had a very similar mindset, and Juan, as you know, is one of the most driven people in the industry. So we were able to kind of create this buyer team model that we have. Obviously, with help from mentors and coaches, we're able to take this system that we have and apply it so that we're able to sell more houses, but also lead a team of other driven individuals to really blow this thing up. So my main role is just kind of overseeing everything on the buyer team. Right now we have 4 other buyers agents, and that's pretty much it.
Awesome. So I know from working with you guys personally that you're crushing it. You're seeing results from systems that you just had mentioned. I was told that, and one of the main things that we should be doing during this time, whether it be aside from virtual buyer consultations, as real estate professionals, we should be setting time aside to really figure out the systems in our business. I was told by a mentor of mine, SYSTEM stands for saving yourself serious time, energy, and money. And that couldn't be more true in my business. So I know you guys have a dialed in system. It's the same process. Systems create predictable results, right? So today we're going to be going over virtual buyer consultations, which again, you've already implemented in your business before all of this stuff happened. Can you give us a quick rundown of the results you've seen from implementing this strategy?
Yeah, sure. So what we've seen is that cancellations have gone down significantly. I would say for every 4 consultations we're setting before, anywhere from 1 to 2 would be canceling or rescheduling. We pretty much never get
That
a
only happens to
cancellation.
you guys, by the way. Yeah,
Yeah.
you're the only team that buyers cancel or sellers cancel. I'm
No,
sure.
they're not flaky at all, man. Yeah, so we don't get any cancellations. Anybody who reschedules can do so automatically. The reason we built out a system that kind of saves us time the reason we built out a system to reduce cancellations is to save us time.
Right.
The time helps us speak to other prospects, follow up, have more appointments. And I would say the number one tool that we've put into play has been Calendly.
Cool.
There are other systems you can use like Acuity, but what I really like about Calendly is it's super passive.
Right.
People like to buy, they don't like to be sold to. So you just send them a link. They set up an appointment for a day and time that works for them. You don't have to hound them. You don't have to follow up 6 times to get 1 appointment. You literally just send the link. They book themselves. And you also lay out some pre-qualifying questions that helps you kind of guide that conversation once you're on it.
Cool. So you're doing a pre-screening call. You're doing like an intake call of some sort. You're asking some qualifying questions. Then you're sending a Calendly link where they're booking a time that's convenient to them to meet with you virtually, right?
Correct.
And you're using Zoom to meet virtually?
Yeah, we're using Zoom. We've also used Google Hangouts. Some people, some people that don't have the app or don't want to download the app. We've also done FaceTime, but I don't recommend it just because with Zoom, you can share your screen.
Right.
You can show different things like client testimonials, past reviews,
Right.
You can also show past closings that you've had. There's also a tool that I really like from MLS, which is it's just built in for you. But if you go to your recent closings on MLS, you scroll all the way to the bottom, it's going to show you the percentage of difference between the listing price and what the property actually sold for.
Right.
So if you can share your screen, now you can kind of build that credibility with your client. You can show them, hey, I save my clients X percentage
Right.
on their home purchases on average.
Right. So there's a whole presentation that you have, mapped out.
Yeah, yeah, and it changes for everybody. It really depends on personality type, right?
Okay.
So if you think about the disc profile, which I don't really have memorized, but I'll cite it anyway. But if somebody's more like numbers driven, you don't want to have a conversation centered around school districts and proximity to transportation. You want to
Right.
make it more about their returns, more about the deal that you can find them,
Right.
more about the inventory that you have that's off market or whatever the case is, to kind of get more towards the numbers portion. If it's somebody who's if somebody who's more like steady, level-headed, they want to like analyze things a little bit more. You can talk about market trends. You can talk about which neighborhoods you see more appreciation in and that kind of stuff. But you really want to get all that info or get a feel for that person during the pre-screening process, and also using your pre-screening questions on the Calendly link or Acuity.
So from start to finish, pre-screen call or intake call, you send the Calendly link. They book a time to meet with you virtually. You're rarely having cancellations because it's so convenient. They don't have to drive anywhere. You don't have to worry about what Starbucks you're meeting at.
Mhm.
You don't have to worry about, should I get a blueberry muffin or a vanilla scone? So you're meeting with them virtually, and then you're going straight into the presentation, which you already have built out. You already have a PowerPoint, I would assume.
Yeah, so we use
Would you
PowerPoint.
would you be
Mhm.
willing to share that with people who request it from you?
Yeah, why not?
Okay, so
Yeah.
if you guys want an example of what your virtual buyer consultation presentation would look like, hit up Abel, and he'll send you that. I think that's really, because I've sat in on some of these consultations, and I will tell you that that presentation is spot on. And I think when you have a combination of knowing who you're talking to, which you had mentioned, like
Mhm.
making sure you hear what they're saying and then giving them the information that they want, not necessarily the information that you want to tell them,
Mhm.
right? Whether it be a numbers person or a person who's trying to get the best school district, like knowing who you're talking to. When you have a combination of knowing who you're talking to and then also displaying like an insanely dialed in system, it screams professionalism. And now, if they've ever sat down with a real estate agent before or spoke to a real estate agent before, you're immediately separating yourselves as soon as you're going over and having that system and having that flow. Like I was told that every phone call should sound very similar, right? There should be no winging it in our
Yeah.
business. Like this
Yeah.
isn't a wing it business. This is
Mhm.
after I say this, we're going to go into this, and this is where I explain that, and this is where I give my value proposition,
Yep.
and like
Yep.
it should be dialed in. And I think you and your team are a shining example of that. So if anybody wants that presentation, hit up Abel. I think you guys are going to get a lot out of that. And like what else are some mention worthy tips for virtual or having a successful virtual buyer consultation?
Yeah. So one thing I would definitely advise is get your lender in on the call, if possible, just because now you have somebody pretty much to corroborate your story. They can vouch for you. It's not so much that they need to edify you on this call, because there's
Right.
a reason the person clicked the link. They
Right.
already want to get in contact with you, but it's more to show that person that all hands are on deck. You
Mm,
don't need to have another one of these conversations with anybody else, because
mm,
all of your questions will be answered within this 20 to 30-minute time period. It also, like you mentioned, it also shows professionalism and that you have a system, that
right.
you're not just winging it. Everybody who needs to get A, B, and C done will go through the same exact process. They'll
Right.
speak to the same people.
Right.
After that conversation, the next step will be documentation. After that, we start the home search, submit offers. Once we're able to kind of lay out the entire game plan, with probably two of the three, I would say, excluding the attorney, two of the three most important pieces in this whole transaction. You're really giving them the reassurance that not only can you produce results, but you have a proven system to do it,
Right.
and they don't have anything to worry about because
Right.
they're scared. I mean, look at the market right now. People are scared with everything that's going on. They need to feel confident in who they're working with, and having your team on that call it's a huge value to everybody.
I think that's especially true with first-time home buyers, which I know like 90% of my business is first-time home buyers.
Hmm.
Most of the people I speak to have never bought a home before, and they're all going through the same emotions. They're all scared, confused, and excited all at once. So, and I
Yep.
start off every phone call with that same comment, and they
Hmm.
always laugh. And then
Yep.
I go into my value proposition, which is to bring clarity to all of this. Because if a person has clarity, they're no longer going to be scared, confused, and anxious or
Yep.
excited. Well, they're still going to be excited, but and then detailing in that presentation, which I think is one of the coolest parts of that presentation, because again, I've sat through it, is this is how much we save our buyers on average. This is our value proposition. These are the results that this is so-and-so family that we helped buy a property in X neighborhood, and they
Hmm.
got it for Y under list. Like having all of that data ready and in your
Hmm.
presentation is going to be insanely valuable to your clients, and it's going to increase your success. And I know you would agree with that.
Yep. Yep.
So I appreciate you coming on. I know everybody watching right now has got a lot out of it. And if you have any questions about virtual buyer consultations, if you want to get connected with Abel, please hit him up. If you want that presentation, please hit Abel up. I know from working with you, you're always looking to add value. So I appreciate you coming to the call, and you did exactly that today.
Yeah. I appreciate you having me on, man.
Absolutely. Thank you, Abel. Always a pleasure. I'll speak to you soon.
Sounds good, brother.